Hey, what's happening, fellas? It's Superset here. Sorry I haven't recorded more videos lately. I've been busy working, but now that I have the summer off, I'll be able to do some more. This is my first review, and I've had it in a long time. This is my Bushnell Elite 1.5 6 power BTR1 second focal plane scope. I just got this scope in. This is a replacement for my current 1-4, and I encourage those of you who are looking to upgrade from current 1-4 scopes like the Burris TAC 30, Miopta, maybe the Trijicon AcuPoint, and you can't afford the Z6i, look hard at this Bushnell Elite. I just shot this yesterday in a 3-gun match, and it performed very well. I was very happy with it, and hopefully I can give you guys a little bit better information in this review. We're going to go through a few points of the scope, and just hit me up if you have any other questions about it. So just as an overview, so we'll look at the different models and the choices as far as which Bushnell Elite you want to buy. There's actually 4 different models. Once you actually have the model, then we're going to talk about how we're going to mount it. Then we're going to look at the bodies and the body and knobs, which is basically all the different manipulation points you can have within the scope and how they work and what I think of them. Then we're actually going to talk about probably the most important thing is the reticle itself. So once you've chosen the reticle over here on the right hand side as far as which model you want, the actual reticle itself, I'll give you a chance to take a look through it. I filmed it in several different conditions. So and I'll show you how it's going to work with my load, my gun, etc. And then once we've actually taken a look at the scope, I'm going to have a little trigger time with it, run through a few drills and see how it's performing. Kind of get to maybe a little bit of baseline. It's not anything super scientific, but just how it's fulfilling my requirements and my current performance baseline. So let's get started. So as I said, again, this is the Bushnell Elite 1 to 6.5 power BTR1 second focal plane. And when you're looking at this optic, there's basically four models you got to choose from, and depending upon which reticle you want and which focal plane you want is the one that you're going to buy. I bought the BTR1 second focal plane optic. So the two choices you have to make. So first thing is, okay, what reticle do I want? This is the BTR1. This is the one I have in the top right hand corner. This is a circle dot reticle. It just has it has a very fine, precise 1 MOA dot. With the BDC drops underneath it. This is I think 4 MOA lines that accord you the bullet drop for whatever the reticle is calibrated to. We'll go over that in one of the other slides. On the bottom one, this is the BTR2 reticle, and the big difference obviously is you have more lines to deal with because you're talking left and right for windage, and underneath it this line is longer, and the reason why this line is longer is it's in mils and not MOA. So I'm more comfortable with MOA, dealing with the Trijicon ACOGs and stuff like that. But if you're more comfortable in mils, then take a look at the BTR2 reticle. And also, you notice the BTR2, the mils reticle actually has more hash lines, so you can actually see more drops on it. But of course, it's busier. You're going to see more in the sight picture. I prefer cleaner and uncluttered, like an EOTech. So that's the reason why I went for BTR1. So once you choose your reticle, then you have to choose which focal plane you want. And the reticle size will change with magnification. So if it'll look smaller on 1x than it will on 6x. So the reason why that is in a first focal plane optic, the bullet drops are accurate no matter which magnification. So if you spin up to only 4 and you've zeroed your weapon, that bullet drop will remain 4 mils. All right, but in a second focal plane optic, the reticle size remains the same. So no matter which magnification you have, it's the same size reticle, only the background enlargers. And the issue with that obviously is since the reticle size doesn't change, the bullet drop is only accurate to the magnification you zeroed at. So if I zeroed at 6 and for some reason I spin up to 4 and want to take a shot, that bullet drop reticle is no longer accurate. I prefer second focal plane optics. One of the reasons is a first focal plane optic, when you zoom down to 1x, this reticle gets very small. It's like a little bitty dot, and I don't like that at all. So And the second thing is, second focal plane optics in general are easier to illuminate than first focal plane. So usually I've used other first focal plane optics, and their illumination was not that good. So that's, just my personal preference. So I did BTR1 second focal plane. You may decide something different. It's up to you. So now that you've actually, made your choice, I bought the BTR1 second focal plane from Graphs for a little under $1,100. So that's actually a very, very good, reasonable price for a 1:6 scope for the features that it has. So I'm very happy with it. So moving on from the models, once you've done that, now you need to mount the scope. I already had an ADM Recon H mount from other scopes I have. Oh, by the way, this is a 30 millimeter scope, so you need to find a 30 millimeter mount. The ADM Recon H mount, I prefer it because it actually has a higher mount than the other standard scopes. The ADM Recon H has a 193 inch offset, so from the bottom of the ring to the center line is 193 plus 1.2 for the bore to the top of the Picatinny. So that's overall 3.15 height over bore. So it's a little bit higher than most people are used to, but I did the numbers in the BDC calculator, and it didn't really make a difference once I passed 100 yards. This is important that I mentioned the ADM Recon H mount, is because from my experience with the scope so far, the big thing is the eye relief is pretty long, and the eye box is very sensitive. So you have to get your eye right behind it, otherwise you're going to see black. You'll see that when I actually put the scope on my slider and go left and right, that you have to get your eye right behind it, otherwise it's very sensitive to it. For that reason, if you don't have a scope mount yet, I would recommend that you would get one of the extended eye relief mounts, where you can actually see like this. This is the ADM Recon X mount, where actually you notice the rings are actually further out toward the barrel than my Recon H mount, which is, you'll see it in my videos, which is a little bit closer to the upper receiver. And the reason why that is, that'll give you a little bit more extra eye relief, so you won't have that much of a problem with it. LaRue also makes one that's also extended eye relief, the LT139, so that's also a good option for you. But the Recon H or standard LaRue LT104 will work. Just know that you have to push it all the way to the end of the upper receiver, like I did. Put the crossbolt basically on the very last mount on the upper receiver to get a good sight picture. All right. So moving on from the mount, we're going to talk about the body and the knobs. So the zoom lever. You can see the zoom lever here. I'm kind of actuating with my finger. The zoom lever controls obviously from 1 to 6.5. It's a clockwise turn for increased power, counterclockwise to decreased power. The zoom lever turns pretty smoothly. This would definitely benefit from a cattail, so I'm kind of waiting for someone to make one. One thing is coming from a burst tack 30. It's much smoother than the burst tack 30. You know that the burst lines are kind of stiff. It kind of reminds me of the Trijicon AccuPoint as far as how smoothly it turns. These D6i actually had a pretty smooth turn ring as well, so that's pretty important. Moving on from the zoom lever, the elevation and windage adjustment caps. You can see me undoing me here. The adjustment caps, I'm glad these guys capped these turrets, because I just will not buy an optic without cap turrets now, because I know you drop those things in boxes or you bump them up against something, they're going to turn. You definitely don't want that. One thing I noticed about this is the adjustment caps. They're the kind of, when you push down on them, you can turn it to adjust, and you pull up on to actually set the zero index point. You can see this little line here. The instructions are on the top here. When you pull them up, it's pretty flimsy. So just make sure that as soon as you get it to where you need to set the zero index point and set it back down, that is down there. These caps aren't exactly the greatest quality, but they do work. You can actually see the right side windage as well. They're marked just as well. They have instructions right on top of the cap. They're easy to work, so I like them. So on the left side of the scope, this is the illumination knob. So illumination knob, I like this because it's the same thing that the Miopta does, where you are turning the scope, there's a little dot that indicates off position. So as you spin the scope illumination up or down, you can turn off the dot. Makes it a lot easier than actually, just like my TAC 30, we had to cycle through all. You had to hold down the button to turn it off, or you had to cycle through all the values, which is retarded. So this illumination knob, I like it because it's very similar to Meopta in the way that the illumination works. It's got 2 night vision settings, which I haven't tested, and illumination 1 through 9. Generally, I'm only going to use 9. I'll show you later on the video of what the illumination looks like at different levels. 9, you can see it on a bright daylight day. You can see it's a little bit red. It's not as bright as an aim point, but it's still workable. So that's illumination knob. On the back here, just a little small mention of the focus eyepiece, so you can adjust it, the diopter, depending upon whether or not it's out of focus or in focus, etc. So that's that. So moving on from the body and knobs, we'll actually talk about the reticle now. So the reticle, the BTR1 reticle. So I'm going to show you the illumination now between 1 through 9 on a kind of a standard day, and then also I'll show you actually what the reticle looks like at 1x and 6.5x on different types of targets, on flashers, on IPSC target, etc. So you can kind of compare. And my BDC reticle. So my MOA BDC reticle, you're going to need to plug this into your calculator and decide so you can see what the drops are. I got this off Enos. So the drops are, so if I zeroed here at 200, the drops are 4.5 MOA, 8 minutes or 8 MOA, 12 MOA, and 16 MOA. So if I had 200 yard zero with my 77 grain Sierra Match Kings, 200 yards, 350, 450, 550, 625. So pretty easy for me to remember. So if I see a target that is at 300 yards, I hold a little bit low on it for 300 yards. So I like these kind of drops. They seem to work out well. Okay guys, so I'm going to go and start the illumination test. It's about noon here in Southern California, and so I got a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of cloud cover. You may see the exposure change just a little bit as the sun comes through, so we'll just see how the reticle looks. At this point I have illumination off. It's on 1x. The target's about 15 yards away. So I'll go and cycle through the settings. There's an off position in between, so just note that as I call them off. I'll go ahead and start with the night vision settings, so you won't be able to see that, but I'll cycle through those, and then starting with 1 all the way to 9 max illumination. All right, here we go. So that's off. Night vision 1 off. Night vision 2 off. Here we go. 1 off. 2 off. 3 off. 4 off. 5 off. 6 off. 7 off. 8 off. 9. So that's max illumination on 1x at this time. So now we're getting a little bit of sunshine now. You can probably notice exposure starting to change, so it's getting a little bit brighter. Hopefully. Okay, so the sun's out now. So as you see, I can still see the reticle. I don't have any problems picking it up. I do have a little bit of an issue picking up the small center 1 MOA dot when you're actually moving between targets. You'll see that when I run through some of the trigger time tests. But still, it's worth it. It's worth turning on illumination at 9 power if you're out in the sunlight, so you can pick up the center dot a little bit quicker. So here's another view of the reticle. I wanted to put a known size target on there. This is a standard IPSC size at 12 yards at 1x power. I don't have the illumination on, so you can kind of see that the reticle will largely take up the entire width of an IPSC target. The IPSC target's I think 18 inches by 30 inches long. So it's at 12 yards. You can pretty much still place it within the center, and you'll achieve a center of mass hit. So here's another target. This is the same IPSC target at 25 yards at 1x magnification. So as you see, it's you need to line up the center dot, because if you use the outer ring, you still got a little bit of a margin for error on both sides. So just to give you some comparison about the size of that Bushnell reticle, this is an EOTech 65 MOA reticle. You can see that actually, even with 65 MOA, it fits neatly inside an IPSC A-zone box. So you put that reticle inside there, and you press off the trigger, you're guaranteed a A-zone hit. You can't do that with the Bushnell, and you really have to use the center dot on the Bushnell. Okay, so now that you've seen 1x, this is what it looks like, max magnification at 6.5x. This is a 200-yard flasher. That flasher is approximately 10 to 12 inches across. So obviously using my 0, I just hold dead on at the center dot and press the trigger and guaranteed hit. So a little bit further out, this is the max range where I'm at. This is a 400-yard flasher target. The 400-yard flasher target is a little bit bigger. I think it's actually 16 inches across. And so for my 0, that is the second line down, and the second line down is 450. So I just hold a little low on the bottom of the target, and the target should be hit. Okay, here's a view of what I was talking about earlier behind the scope. This is a 1x, target's about 10 yards away. I have illumination on. Once I actually am behind the scope, I mentioned earlier the eye box is actually pretty narrow. So you got to get your eye directly behind the scope, otherwise you're going to get black around the edges. All variable scopes have this in some degree. My Trijicon Acupoint was actually very generous about it, so I didn't have to have it directly behind. But this Bushnell, well, you get your eye directly behind it, otherwise it's not going to line up correctly. So as you can see here. Okay, so now that you've actually got a chance to look through the reticle, I'm gonna send it in for a little bit of trigger time here. Just do a few drills for it. I set up some steel IPSC targets here. So I'm gonna do a one-shot drill from high ready. All these are from high ready, and then I'll do a close transition drill where I set up 3 targets, approximately 2 yards in between, and these are reduced IPSCs at 15 yards. We'll do a wide transition, so that's from left to right, approximately 15 yards between targets, and then we'll shoot some long distance with the scope at 6.5x. The reason why I'm doing these drills, especially at 1x, is just see how effective the reticle is versus some other ones like maybe the EOTech, and whether or not I'm going to have problems tracking the sight as I'm breaking shots. So we'll see. We'll do an aggregate sum, and we'll compare it against the times, and we'll see what's happening. 099 100 099 098 172 165 188 184 172 149 185 186 200 hit 250 hit 300 hit 375 All right, fellas, that's it. That's a decent first look at the Bushnell. Hope you liked it. If you're a new viewer to my channel, thanks for checking me out, man. If you like it, comment, subscribe, drop me a note. Talk to you guys next time. Take care.